The last 2 games, David Raya has been in goal for Arsenal. That was against Everton and in midweek as well in their game against PSV Eindhoven. Tactical substitutions of goalkeepers. It's quite a rarity. We see it maybe, I suppose, in a cup game when it might be heading to a penalty shootout and maybe a goalkeeper thinks for whatever reason his substitute goalkeeper is a better stopper when it comes to penalties. But really, in-game substitutions, other than injuries, we don't really see it.
No.
Is there a problem with doing that? I mean,
Yes.
Arteta, why?
Why?
Yeah. Because Arteta seems to think it's a possibility.
Okay, look, it's a scrutinised position and it's a specialist position. Incidentally, that Brent Leno has done an interview in the Times talking, because obviously his exit was very similar. There's quite a lot of parallels between his exit of Arsenal when it came the time of year and after so many games. And he speaks about that decision and how difficult it was, and he knew that he had to leave, and he was told, and he actually admits in the piece that the goalkeeping coach said you'll probably have to leave as a solution.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that might sit badly with him, but I think it's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. And I don't like, when we always go, that's the worst game we've ever seen, or that's the best game, we exaggerate. But it is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. For a manager to suggest that he would substitute a goalkeeper after a certain amount of minutes during a game.
Okay, to play, and I sort of agree with you. I sort of think in general it would be a waste of a substitution, unless, like you say, it's an injury or I don't know. Maybe there is a 100% definitive reason as to why you need to sub that goalie. Maybe the goalie themselves have said, "Look, I'm just not in the right frame." And whatever it is, those kind of you can understand those reasons, but I can't really see in game tactically how it's going to change that much by switching your goalkeeper. And I'd rather change outfield players than your goalkeeper. But to play devil's advocate, you're saying you think it's ridiculous. Why? What's the problem with it?
So imagine Jurgen Klopp substituting Alisson after 65 minutes and waving come off. What do you think Alisson's reaction would be? Would be his arms probably would be out. Why?
Yeah.
What do you think Edison would be at Man City if that happened after 65 minutes? I could probably go through every goalkeeper.
Well, what if okay, let's just say in Liverpool's case that you've just mentioned there with Alisson, let's say whoever they're playing, they're 6-0 up against. It's just an easy game for them. The next game that's coming up is a really tricky tie, whatever it is. Is there a possibility that you might look at it and think, I might as well bring him off. I don't want him to get injured. Might as well just take him off and bring on the sub, who is equally as good.
Well, that's an extreme example, isn't it?
It is, but I'm just trying to think maybe we're reading too much into Mikel Arteta saying it. Maybe he is only talking about key moments.
I personally, I think he made his decision at the end of last season, and the way Arsenal finished, I think he made a call. The way they were beaten up twice by Man City, the performances of Ramsdale in them games, the last 9 games, Arsenal won 3, lost 3, and drew 3. And basically the title got blown away. In that period, Ramsdale didn't have a particularly great time, done okay in some games. I think Arteta had made a decision there, and he's made a big call to get a new goalkeeper with Raya. He's put him in. I said a few weeks ago to you that I thought he was coming. I thought he'd be left out, and he didn't. He survived that weekend, and the next game he was out. Yeah. And I think Arteta's trying to cover himself in some way, but I think it's the craziest thing. Look, goalkeepers it is a very specialised position. There is only, the goalkeeper and all the outfield players. You can change the outfield players. They can get into the flow of a game. I'm not sure after 65 minutes, I want to throw on a goalkeeper who's not done any catching or not done come out for, crosses or made any great saves. They're basically coming in cold. It's not like an outfield player who runs around they're coming in cold. I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that. And I think you are undermining your goalkeeper in 99% of circumstances. If there was a 6-0 victory or game that was, Liverpool were winning not so long ago, Southampton 7-0, wasn't they? And, if you just subbed him then, you sort of, he's subbing him because there's a big game coming on, no more. But to sub him as a tactical reason, I'm not buying that. And
I think that's the conversation that I think is more interesting than just the fact that he's rotating his goalkeepers. We've just had a text in, and I was going to get to this point because a lot has been made of, is it David Raya? Is it Aaron Ramsdale that's going to start. A lot of speculation about that, but as there's texts has come in, I don't get why Arsenal rotating a goalkeeper is a massive thing when Brighton have been doing it all season with no attention given to that, which is absolutely right. Jason Steele has played more games than Bart Verbruggen, but Verbruggen has played 2 games for Brighton this season, and yet no one's really talking about it. But I think the bigger point is what Mikel Arteta has spoken about, being the tactical substitution mid-game. And he has said that he says, I'm a really young manager. I've been in this job for 3.5 years and I have few regrets in what we have done. One of them is that on 2 occasions, I felt after 60 minutes and 85 minutes in 2 games in this period to change the keeper in that moment, and I didn't do it. I didn't have the courage to do it. And he goes on to say, look, when you take a winger off, when you take a striker off, no one batters an eyelid. But if you contemplate doing that with a keeper, it would raise a few eyebrows.
Let's get to the point there. So all in that conversation, he says he didn't have the courage to do it. So you need a lot of courage. You're giving valid reasons in your mind about why you can do it, or it's an option, but you know deep down it's a problem. You know, if you're saying I didn't have the courage to do it, you're admitting this is a line in the sand moment.
Well, the problem is he doesn't say what those games are, so we don't know if they were games that they've gone on to lose or games that they were, I don't know, were losing. I don't know exactly. We don't know what those games are, but had he have changed the goalkeeper, let's say, it would have raised eyebrows, especially if it's just tactical, like he's suggesting. But it could have, I mean, it's all hindsight. Could have been on. It could be something that in the future we'll see more regularly if it proves to be.
I don't believe that.
No,
I think what.
Well,
he
most
said,
teams don't have two proper number ones.
I don't believe that.
Like.
No, you don't. There is the number one. There's always a hierarchy of goalkeeping, and the number one is the number one until he plays poorly, then he gets left out. So if he selects Raya, he's quite clearly tomorrow got a number one. He's not rotating the goalkeepers. He's played Raya in the last 3 games if he plays tomorrow, which I suspect he will. So it's a really difficult one. Look, Nat, there are special breed goalkeepers and they get scrutinised so much. I don't know many goalkeepers of any level will accept that. I don't imagine Schmeichel going to Fergie and saying, oh, that's okay, you pulled me after 65 minutes. I don't imagine Seaman being okay that with Wenger.
He said it, Schmeichel. He said he wouldn't have liked it.
No chance. No chance. And I don't imagine 99% of goalkeepers would be okay with that being... They would feel humiliated in that moment. And I think that the words of Arteta saying, I didn't have the courage, he's openly admitting that's probably pushing it too far.
Who knows? Maybe he'll do it tomorrow if there's a need to
Kelleher
do it.
played for Liverpool in midweek. He played European football. You know.
Yeah, but we see that. We see that rotation.
So that rotation is fine. And we see it in cup competitions, you know, whether it's the League Cup or it's the FA Cup. We see that. But Premier League games, Champions League games, I'm not so sure.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.